Welcome to today's panel discussion on your role as a clinical lead. My name's Sophia and I'm a member of the Headspace Youth National Reference Group. Today's discussion will be an introduction to your role as a clinical lead and to talk about the Headspace Centre service model. I'm joined by the lovely Tara, Suzanne and Karsten to discuss their experience in the role and how it relates back to the model. So if you'd love to introduce yourselves, where you're from and how long you've been with Headspace for.
So I'm Tara Kavazi. I've been with Headspace Osborne Park, which is a metro centre, for 3 years and a clinical lead for 2.
I'm Suzanne Fuzzard and I'm from Murray Bridge Headspace, which is a regional centre, and I've been with Headspace for nearly 6 years and I've been clinical lead in that time.
Hi, I'm Karsten Schley. I'm the clinical lead for Headspace Sunshine, which is a metro centre in Melbourne. It's a first round centre, so we had our 10th birthday last year and I've been there since the beginning in various roles, so clinical lead maybe for the last 6 years or so.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. So Tara, what does a typical day at Headspace look like for you?
I think there's really no typical day for me, so there's a mix of intake meetings, clinical case review, meeting with my manager to debrief, work out what's going on for a day perhaps. It might be also offering an assessment for a young person or running a group, so there's never a typical day. I can never really know what's going to happen in the day, which is quite exciting.
Yeah. How about you, Suzanne, at Murray Bridge?
I'd agree with Tara, there's often not a typical day. I think a big part of this role is being quite flexible and able to respond as needed, because there can be crisis kind of come up not just for the young people or families, but within the staff group, somebody calling in sick for the day, or just being able to respond to those kinds of things. So I think, but very similar to Tara, those sorts of things, providing clinical supervision, being able to problem solve, I think, when issues come up. Day to day, and a proportion of sort of clinical governance and governance meetings and writing clinical practice manuals and things like that, particularly when preparing for HMIF. So yeah, those sorts of duties as well.
Yeah, I think most of it that I had thought of was already mentioned. I think for me, also, and that's what I really love about the job, is that it is a very diverse job. So there's not one, a line of responsibility, and certainly the ability to having to think on your feet. And I think, Suzanne, you were talking about problem solving. I think that's one of the things that we need to do all the time, and that can be about the loo is blocked, to we have a mental health crisis, or we have some issue with the the building or whatever. So it is a very diverse range of activities each day, and that's what I love about it. It's never dull.
What clinical roles and professions are there in your Headspace Centre?
We're quite fortunate. We've just almost doubled our staffing recently. So we now actually have truly a multidisciplinary team. So we have an occupational therapist, which is me. We have psychology on staff. We have nursing on staff. We have quite a number of social workers. We also now have an Aboriginal youth worker just started, and we have a range of community engagement workers who don't necessarily come from a clinical background but have quite a lot of skills and expertise in community engagement specifically.
Do you have any different clinicians?
I'm not sure whether you can see that on camera, but I might be a bit green at the moment, because I certainly didn't have any doubling of staff in the last year. Having said that, we have, like Suzanne and I'm sure Tara as well, a very diverse range of people working with us. The vast majority are privately contracted, so they're not under our employer, and that would typically be the allied health providers, GPs, sexual health nurses and so on. And then the co-located providers from drug and alcohol services, family services and so on. And then our core staff for intake team and so on. More recently, and that's quite exciting, we've started to work with employed young people, even though we have a long history of having, the youth advisory group members with us. But for the last 12 months, we have young people under our employ to help us both in community awareness and in advisory, I suppose, roles for any kind of centre activities, which is fantastic.